Etiology is the study of causation. So instead of beating a dead horse again and then running it over and then setting it on fire, discussing a topic such as overtraining, I'm going to give you my own perspective on it and perhaps some questions that maybe you should ask yourself if you feel that you are overtrained. Now, some people say that there is no such thing as overtraining. I would say that there are probably better ways to describe overtraining, but the idea that someone is unable to complete their prescribed sets and reps for let's say, I don't know, not really chronically, but let's say over the period of a week, they're not able to do anything that they're supposed to. They're feeling run down. Maybe they hurt themselves. Maybe this is causing some depression. Maybe they're not sleeping well. Whatever. So let's use etiology to discover the causation of this issue that we will no longer refer to as overtraining, because that's a bad word, I guess. Anyway, so are these questions to ask yourself now. So we're just saying you are not recovered well enough from your previous training sessions to complete your current training session. So first question is, of course, how are you sleeping? If you're sleeping for 8 hours a day uninterrupted, good for you. I generally don't get that much. That's just how my life is. I get as much as I can. I'm not going to complain about it. I don't have kids. If I did, I would sleep even less. But sleep as much as you can. Are you sleeping as much as you can? Let's put it that way. How's the quality of your diet? Do you get it right 60% of the time? Or do you get it right 90% of the time? If you get it right 100% of the time, that's awesome. Good for you. I don't do that. So say about 90. Let's get a good old rule of thumb. All right. Let's see. Another one is, are you working on your mobility? Do you have chronic shoulder problems and you do not work on your mobility? Perhaps that is something you should consider. Okay, and here is what I think is the most critical element, and I think that's, what is your programming like? Does your programming make sense? Let's put it that way. I don't care what methodology you prescribe to, whatever. If your programming doesn't make sense, it's going to facilitate moving backwards as opposed to moving forwards. So let's say you're doing a squat, bench, press, deadlift once a week, and all of a sudden you decide, okay, my deadlift is lagging. I need to deadlift 3 times a week. That's probably going to cause something that you might call overtraining. Okay, maybe you start to get injured. Maybe you can't. You're just so sore by the time you get to your next deadlift session that you can't do anything. I mean, you start warming up and you're like, see ya. That could happen. So in that instance, your programming probably is the cause of your issues. So maybe program more intelligently. I don't know. That's the way to put it. But yeah, look at your programming and look at if it makes sense. I mean, are you taking every lift over 90% every week? That might work for a while if you're a novice, or maybe even if you're an intermediate. But as you become more of an advanced lifter, or perhaps just closer to being an advanced lifter, you've been an intermediate for a while, then that might not be possible anymore. You might be able to get a couple weeks out of it, and then the third week you're like, man, I'm not even able to get to 80%. So examine your programming, examine if it makes sense, and get back to it. So yeah, that would be, are you training at too high of an intensity too often? Here's the last thing, but the Bulgarians did it. Okay, look, I understand that there are a lot of training programs out there that people are able to complete, that they train at a very high intensity very often. Let's say they train, 13 times a week, and they're always training high intensity. Okay, so you're probably not the same as them. You're not utilizing the same medicine. You probably don't live in a training hall, and your life probably isn't lifting. So stop comparing them to you. Examine your own situation and examine the etiology or the causation of your overtraining. But yes, if you are feeling run down often, there's probably something you need to fix, and figuring out what that is will make you a better lifter in the long term. Okay, see ya.